Welcome to Khullome. Khullome is Luya for Let's Talk, and this entire space is an invitation to have a conversation around sexuality and identity from a biblical perspective. What is biblical sexuality? What is biblical identity? How does it interact with culture? This is what we talk about around here. So if that's interesting to you, stick around and let's do this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel or the Instagram page, depending on where I decide to post this. There's so many things in our lives that affect our sexuality, and there's so many things that our sexuality affects as well in our lives, and in other areas of our lives. And so it's important to have a well-rounded conversation. It's important to have a conversation, basically. Especially in the Christian space when it comes to sexuality, what it means, how we engage, both with what culture is saying, but on the foundation of Scripture, bringing everything back to what does God say, because He is our authority. So to that end, I'm going to be doing like a series on various things that come up, but also various things that we just need to be aware of what's going on in our society and everything, and how we can engage with it. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is gender. Now, I've been thinking about doing this episode for a while, but hey, everything happens in God's time, right? So gender ideology is a complicated thing. It's big and there's so many aspects to it, but I'm going to try and kind of break it down so that we can understand what's going on. So gender ideology is basically the notion or the belief that we have an inner knowing, an inner knowledge of ourselves that doesn't have to align with the reality in which we live. So it doesn't, that means if you are a boy, you might not be a boy on the inside, right? And so we have many people struggling with their identity and their sexuality, and how those two things are merged, because in our culture today, we're constantly being told that our identity is found in our sexuality, which is the opposite of what God tells us. But that's gender ideology in an extreme nutshell. Basically, the belief that we know who we are on the inside, and it doesn't have to match what reality is. It doesn't have to match our actual lives. Yeah. So you can be born a boy, but inside you know that you're a girl, or you're born a girl and inside you know you're a boy, or maybe you're neither. And so if going down the whole spectrum, there's a lot. But it's important to understand that basic understanding. Yeah, to know that that's what it is. And then engage with that. So many of us, a lot of the times, we want to know everything. We're like, I have to know absolutely everything. And it's definitely good to educate ourselves. But one thing that happens whenever you go into a lot of what's happening in culture and to do with sexuality, there's so much confusion, so much conversation, so much information from all sides, and many people get lost. Yeah, so you'll hear one person citing a study and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's great. And then someone else cites a study that says the opposite, and you're like, oh, okay, that's different. And so it challenges us, and some of us just stop. We're like, okay, it's too much. So it's important to understand it simply, and then you go from step to step. Yeah, stop expecting to be at 100. All right. The one thing we do know is that we should always have compassion for people. We should always have kindness. We should always seek to show love and grace in how we talk to anyone, how we deal with anybody. And so now that particular description or definition is contrary to Scripture. Because the Bible tells us that he knew us from the beginning. He formed us in our mother's womb. He knows who we are. In the beginning, he made them. He made us male and female right from the beginning. We have God showing us what his creation, his authority, and how we're supposed to relate with him and with others. And so we were created in the image of God. God made you male if you are male, and he made you female if you are female. Now, that doesn't mean that people cannot have gender dysphoria, which I will describe in the next video. So stick around and watch that. But when we are talking about definitions, ask people when they're saying stuff, when you're starting a conversation, to define their terms. That's the most important thing you can do in this day and age. Define your terms. Okay? Thank you. I'll see you on the next one. God bless you.